Hello and welcome to our virtual wisdom circle episode of the heart behind the daily hustle of champions, powered by exceptional connections. I'm Cindy O'Neill Dady, the founder and chief connector of Exceptional Connections, a community I've had the joy of leading since 2009. Once a month, our conversation to connect is a little bit different. Um, so we've added the heart behind the daily hustle of champions, and this month we're featuring, drum roll please, Chuck Oxford joining us from Sequim, Washington. Welcome, Chuck.
Hey, hello everyone.
We're so glad you're here. So, the purpose of our virtual wisdom circle, the heart behind the daily hustle of champions, is to spotlight our champion connectors, elevate their visibility, and reveal the heart, habits, and wisdom that fuel their daily success. This complimentary offering is open to all and is designed to cultivate a nurturing environment where authentic stories are shared, practical insights are exchanged, and meaningful connections can truly flourish. So at about the 35, 40-minute mark, we'll open the lines for Q&A. So as you listen, feel free to take notes, any questions or insights that you'd like to share later in the program. So before we dive into the secret sauces behind Chuck's success, I'd love to invite him to share a bit about his background and journey that got him to where he is today for those exceptional connectors who may not yet know him. So take it away, Chuck.
All right. To start this, then, since I got to a little bit about my background, I grew up in the Midwest and actually south side of Chicago. And it was a tough place to grow up, I must say. You had to be on your toes, and you learn to communicate very fast, very quickly, and hit and run was a good thing. So survived that, graduated from high school, and still alive. That was a good thing. Unharmed, which was a good thing. And it was actually a very good lesson in survival and how to be resilient. And that has carried me through actually my whole life because when situations get tough, you just push through. You don't escape and you don't become a victim. And that's very important. That's what I've spent my whole life doing, helping myself not be a victim and helping other people not being victims and pushing ahead. So my first job out of high school was I joined the Air Force, United States Air Force. So I was in the Air Force for just a couple of years, and I had big ambitions to get a great education and move ahead and have a whole career, and that didn't work out. So I got shorted on that, which was disappointing. But however, once again, you just push through and keep moving forward and you adapt. And so my first job was actually because I was in the Air Force. I got hired at a steel mill, and I was working in the steel mill. And I don't think virtually no one knows that about me. But my first job for the first 2 years was working in a steel mill, and that was another very interesting thing to do. And steel mills are very dangerous. And a lot of times the people in them are kind of dangerous. So again, you learn how to adapt, you learn how to work with people, and that's carried me forward as well. And you get in some tough spots and you learn how to get out of them. So you learn how to deal with people. And I think that was really something I learned at the steel mills. And then I went and worked at a chemical company, lab technician doing laboratory work, quality control work. I did that for a number of years and got promoted into being a project chemist because one of my shortfalls in the beginning of my career was I had no college education. And back in those days, which was the 70s, a college education was a door opener. it was a direct link to the middle class. And having come out of a more of a challenging area economically, going to the middle class was a real achievement for somebody coming out of my background. So I decided that the way to do this was I was going to work 120% harder and faster than anybody else. And I think looking back on that, that really served me well in those days because people were really impressed about how hard I could work, how long I could work. Overtime was not a problem. I would be there 16 hours a day. I didn't care because I was going to prove myself because I had this college shortfall. So then I worked that for a couple of years, and then I went into technical sales because I'd been in the laboratory for a number of years. I knew a lot about products and chemistry, so they put me in the field to be technical support for the customers, and that was a fun job for me because I knew all the chemistry and stuff, and that's what the customers needed when they had problems. Who could come in and solve my problems? Because I worked mainly uh, in Chicago and then on the East Coast in New Hampshire. So my technical service was about servicing paper mills. And there's a lot of them on the East Coast and in New England. So I lived in New Hampshire, and it was really a great thing for me because I could kind of take on hero status, because I could come into the plant. You got a big paper mill shut down, and I could solve the problem. So that made me popular. So that was a good thing. So because then I decided that they were going to promote me out of that into product management. And product management had to do with being a liaison between the sales force and the laboratory because they always had a communication problems because the lab people talked in chemistry and the salespeople talked in business, and they weren't there was nobody to blend that over, so it was like talking two foreign languages. So I did that, and what I learned there was that I needed to go get a college degree. So I went on, got it. I went to night school for 8 years to get a bachelor's in international marketing. And I already had done 2 years in chemistry, but I could no longer do that because in those days, in the late 70s, there was virtually nowhere to get a chemistry degree at night. And the process was so slow. And so I needed to speed it up because I had to take courses to get done. So I went to international marketing because I realized I could take 2 or 3 courses at one time because they offered weekend courses. So spent a lot of time working and into the 70s and early 80s in school at night. So it kept me out of trouble for sure. So then I did that for a couple of years, and then they had me amazingly do merger and acquisition in the corporation I worked for. And I did that where I helped the company decide they had branches, plants, whether they should keep them or not. And my expertise in that was because I had the technical background. And all these facilities that they had bought, I worked for a chemical company, and they had um, bought chemical plants, and they had to decide. So they trusted me to go in there and write reports. And some of the projects were 3 months, some were 6 months, and I would tell them whether they should sell it, keep it, or merge it, or whatever. And so I did that for about a year and a half, and the results were good. I did really well with it, which even surprised me. So because of that, they then decided that I should become a general manager and run small divisions for them. And that was my big break because now I'm into the early 80s and I just got my degree in international marketing. And in those days, that was a door opener. And so right away, the floodgates opened and opportunities emerged. And so it paid off going to night school for 8 years. It did because it was immediate. It was immediate. And so then I was in Chicago again for the merger job, and then I moved to New Jersey, where I ran a small division that they had purchased, and they were trying to decide whether to keep it open or not. And so I went in there, and that turned out to be another really huge break because it was a small company they bought. It was running about $1.5 million a year, and I ran that for 10 years. And I brought it to from 1.5 million to $12 million in sales, which was really good, really good. And so I did that for 10 years, and then they promoted me to becoming general manager of the Northwest. That's how I got to Seattle. That's how I got to Washington. So I ran the division here, and here we supported, on the East Coast, we supported Sikorsky helicopter, Boeing helicopter, US Air, United Airlines, and Delta Airlines and stuff. So then when I went to Seattle here, of course, I was responsible for Boeing and Alaska Air and United Airlines down in San Francisco. So um, that was really good. And so as a result of this general manager's job, I also picked up the responsibility for our international distributors. So I was handling our distributors in England, Italy, uh, and Israel, and Japan. So I was responsible. So as a result, I got to travel those places. So which was a lot of fun because I love to travel, and it was a real experience for me to be able to go to those because here I am, just a little Midwest South Side guy, and now I'm rubbing elbows with generals and stuff like that, and especially in Israel, because in Israel I had a what do you want to call it? A defense pass, so I could get on the bases there, and so Israel. So I did that. Well, I did that as part of a 10, 12 year projection as general manager, and I loved the company and everything, but the company got bought out. And I had learned through those jobs as general manager, that a lot of the books, I'm a big book reader about businesses and stuff. And I tried doing all these theories and concepts that books had, and I'll be doggone if they didn't work. So I was really happy about that. And but the company who bought us decided that because I had been trained to push all the decision making, everything I can, to as far front as you can, right as close up to the customer as we can. And that really gave us a real advantage in the marketplace because we could make decisions quick, fast. And if I wanted to change something, I could change it right then and there, or do something for the customer right then and there in real time. And that's how I was able to build that from 1.5 million to 12 million, because people were like, wow, like normal delivery of products in the aerospace industry was 4 to 6 weeks. We were able to build a system inside the division that we could deliver products actually in 3 days. And it was a real game changer in that chemical industry there. Because what I did, I was in charge of coating, sealants, and adhesives for aircraft. That's what we sold. So that was the maintenance. So airlines loved it because it costs thousands of dollars an hour to hold a plane at the airport while they're waiting for something to repair the aircraft. So when we could deliver, actually the Philadelphia International Airport, we could deliver same day. And that was a game changer for Delta Airlines and US Air, and Boeing helicopter was a game changer. So we did that. And so when I went to Seattle here, after a couple of years, so we got bought out. So now that company believed in hierarchy, command from the top. So that didn't sit well with me because I'm used to moving all the action, all the decision making as far forward as possible and as close to the customer as possible. So I left the company. And after a year, I did my research and I bought a company. I thought, well, if I could do this for a company, I could do it for myself. So although that turned out to be a little more challenging than I anticipated, I wasn't as smart as I thought. So once again, working 110%, 120%, I built that bridge to be able to do that. And so I took that business from $350,000 to a year to about 1.8 million. And that was over 13 years. That was much harder. And that was 1.8 million was pretty good for that industry. So that I bought it, which was the automotive industry. So I ran it for 13 years and then began to realize that the industry was changing. And I decided to sell the company to the employees. That was 2017. So because I felt it needed younger people involved, and because the industry was changing so fast that I thought younger people would do it better. So I sold it to them and walked away. And so then I took 6 months and decided that I was going to consult and mentor people who were trying to get into business or had owned businesses, small businesses, and take my experience of all those years of management and sales and technical service and try to help people with it and running a division and a corporation and running my own business and try to help people. And that was my goal, to help people. So that was, by the time I got started on that was 2018. And so I do that till today, to present. So you know, I enjoy it. I love it. And I've helped lots of people. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to do it because I think in a way it was God sent because now I could actually not be handcuffed and really, really help people and not be kind of, handcuffed in owning your own business. So that was a good thing to do. So then I took on a lot of I've been volunteering quite a bit as well. And and of course, I've done networking since 2004. So I, what's it now? Geez, 22 years of networking. So, and I've done like there was LaTip, BNI, then I had Bellevue by Connection, Bellevue by Bellevue Brain Trust. These were pretty high end type networking. The LaTip and BNI was pretty common type of thing to do to get to know people. So then I began volunteering, and the volunteer I volunteer for the city of Woodinville. I did some of their business plans for their senior center and community center, and so I did that for a couple of years. And then I was a number of years with the Bellevue Chamber of Commerce, and I co-chaired their Economic Development Committee and did that and interacted with the Bellevue government there with the aldermen and stuff there. So that was fascinating to do. I got a really close up look how the government operates. And I learned it's not my cup of tea. The government, every government I've attached to is the same way. They have meetings, and that's actually, I can't take it. So I don't volunteer for cities anymore. So then, then I did something unusual here. I also volunteer for the community center here in Squim, and I've taken on a role in, of all things, a vegan group. I actually am the leader of a vegan group. I've been part of it for 2 years, but just 2 months ago, they pushed me into being the leader. So that's a new thing for me. And I joined the group because I thought as we get older, we need to eat better. And so I want to explore how we can actually eat better and have better diets and be healthier. But to my surprise, they made me the leader. So I'm now leading it. And so that's my latest adventure. Then the other thing that I did I thought was really noteworthy was I volunteered for Ventures. And Ventures is a nonprofit group that helps people who basically have no other economic options. And they are at the low end of the economic ladder, and they're trapped in a life of being poor, and there's just no options for them. So this organization puts out an 8-week training course to teach these people how to become business owners. And it's 8 weeks. And I volunteered as a business coach in that program. And that was so rewarding because you dealt with people that, I mean, I never experienced this before in my life, but people right here in Seattle, nowhere to go, no, they're working 2 and 3 jobs and being like laid off like every 3 months from these jobs. It was a horrible situation. I didn't realize that existed. So I helped them become business owners. And it was really rewarding because these people were so grateful. And society had written them off. They had nowhere to go. And what I learned is that these people were ambitious. They had a goal. They wanted to do well. They loved the United States. They were here because they wanted to make a life for themselves. And this program was a godsend for those people. And I was so honored to be a business coach for them and help those people. And it was so rewarding to see people who would graduate and go into the mentoring program, and that Ventures would then loan people money to get started. And it, I tell you what, and they loan these people who society had written off sometimes thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. That program never lost one dime of a loan. Those people always paid it back. So you can tell the character of the people in there. And so I really taught me a lot about humanity and what to do. So uh, then, so I look back on kind of the personal challenges and and I'd say the one thing that I overcame was the no college degree because that was a huge barrier. And I would not, I had to do it because that's what was required. That was what was necessary to get ahead and move into the middle class. And but I don't recommend it to anybody. But if that's all you got to do it. I mean, that's you got to be in school every night. So because I had realized by not getting the college education, that piece of paper, it made me the dumbest smart guy in the room everywhere I went. And nobody would give you a chance. So it was really a pivotal moment in my career, getting that degree. And today, I think it sounds not right, but that's the way it was. If you go back 40 years. So, what else do I want to say? So then I think that key experiences was, I think the Air Force, joining the Air Force out of high school, because the Vietnam War was going on. So everybody was trying not to be drafted. And in the neighborhood I was in, everybody joined the Marines, everybody. And I decided I was not going to join the Marines. I didn't feel that I was meant to be in jungles. So I joined the Air Force. And luckily I had done very well on all the tests, so I got in without a problem. And that was what I learned there was accountability, how to get through every day, how to hit goals, how to be accountable, you know, and be a step up guy and not no excuses. And it was really helped me strengthen who I was. And so maybe a lot of people, about the military, but it was good for me. It was very good for me. And then when I got the opportunity to be general manager level, that was great because all the things I had learned, all the books I had read and everything, I put all that to practice. And every skill I had developed was put to use in that job. And it was very rewarding. I loved it. I would do it again. And I managed hundreds of people. So, so my growing up on the south side of Chicago really paid off because you learn how to work with people. And then because of those jobs, one of the things I like to do is travel. So in that job, I got to travel around the world. I went everywhere. So that was a wonderful thing because was one of my kind of bucket list things I wanted out of life. And I got it through working. And so that was great. So so that's kind of my background and kind of how I got here. And of course, I joined Exceptional Connections, helping, attend the meetings, and then eventually, when we moved to the pizza co-op, I began working with Cindy to try to see how we could transform uh, the Exceptional Connections because we could see that things were beginning to change. And, we didn't know just a few years later, of course, we'd have COVID. So we started working on adapting it, trying to make it more interesting, more influential, and more educational, which we did do. So it's been wonderful to work with Cindy and Curtis through the ECN, and that's been very rewarding for me. I love it, and I love the people in the organization. So like my values, what I really like, I really about integrity, being genuine, being authentic, um, and I always am about making sure I'm setting the example, not only for my son, but for people around me, that my mannerism, my actions, my speech has to show that I'm setting examples for maybe how to live a better life or how to live a good life and be constructive and not be destructive. So, and I also believe if I have this to my heart, I believe this. If I have the skills, knowledge, and experience to help somebody, it's my duty to help people, help others, help them, lift them up, get them ahead. And I really believe in that. And I'd never take pay for that, never, because that's my heart's desire. If I have what it takes to help somebody, it's my duty to do it. And I've done that hundreds of times. And then people will ask me, now it's important to me. So ask me in this day and age, how do you stay grounded? How do you know where to go and all that? And I give people simple answer. I believe in the Declaration of Independence. I believe in the U.S. Constitution. I believe in the Bill of Rights and the Bible, not necessarily in that order. And so when I'm looking or I'm feeling like maybe I'm getting off track, I use those books and documents for making sure I'm staying on track and not be opinionated with people, just meet them where they're at and try to guide them give them guardrails to improve their life. That's what I do. So when I say to people, believe in yourself. Don't let society dictate who you are. Make sure you believe in yourself, stand up for yourself, because society doesn't care about you. And it's not negative. It's just everybody's busy with their lives, so society doesn't care. But they'll try to tell you what to do, but you have to stand your ground because they only see you through the lens of their own eyes and their own opinions and their own experiences, which have nothing to do with you. So they try to project their values on you. And as a result, if you take it to heart, you will develop limiting beliefs about yourself. And no one should do that. So that's you know, kind of a pivotal lesson I learned in life. And the other thing is, I'm a recovering perfectionist, really bad, you know. So about 2014 and 15, I found a book called Not, I think it's called Not So Perfect, and I read it, and it changed me. It made me realize I can let go. I don't need to do everything at 120%. It's not all, and it's not doing your best. You're still doing what's necessary, but you just don't have to go out there and kill yourself. You just don't. So it taught me to relax and stop being a perfectionist. It's okay if you make mistakes. You just make sure that you take care of the mistakes so they don't become, tragedies. But so what I what I encourage people, and I'm so much happier, by the way, not being a perfectionist. It's reduced my stress level. It's made me less uptight, a lot calmer. One of the reasons I moved to Squim, calm, peace. So it's worked out. Uh, and what I encourage people, because Cindy asked me to talk about encouragement, and I believe that in working with people, especially in mentoring and consulting and managing hundreds of people, is that you can do more than you think. And limiting beliefs kill more careers than anything else. And so I always tell people, just really believe in yourself. That doesn't mean being arrogant, just being confident. And to keep in mind that actually in the future, there really are no barriers, there are no policies, and there are no rules in the future. They don't exist. So the only barriers you bring to the future is the ones you drag from the past. So I always try to get people to break that. Do not be dragging issues from the past because the past is just a reference library of what you've experienced, but it has no business in your future because the future is wide open. You can do anything you want. So, and that's why I gave the presentation, what was the last month, about embracing change. Embrace change because it's good. It's actually, in the end, it's good. You don't embrace change for no reason. You embrace change because you'll benefit. You'll do better. You'll become a better person for it, and you'll adapt. And that's kind of what I had. Or
Wow. Thank you, Chuck. That was great. Feel free to unmute yourself. This is a great opportunity for us to enter into the conversation, be able to ask questions or comment on things. Gosh, there's so much, Chuck, so much. I learned so much. I took notes here and I just love you did a great job, by the way. I know you were concerned because you don't like to talk about yourself, but it really was great to be able to learn more about you and your different jobs that you've had and all the skills that you've learned and all the ways that you've been, just a contribution to, I'm sure, every organization that you were a part of. So, and that includes Exceptional Connections. So thank you so much. So Lori and Patrice, I see that you've unmuted yourself. Feel free to, whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead, Patrice.
Chuck, you've had a fabulous career. I'm just so amazed at all the things that you've done and how you've grown throughout all of those different transitions. It's just so impressive how you've built your career, and like you said, you've embraced change. Sounds like throughout your career, that's just so impressive. I'm really interested in your volunteer experience, and especially with ventures, I believe
Yes, venture.
you had mentioned. Um, so a lot of the people that maybe that you helped develop their own business or um, find employment,
Yeah.
how do you help them to navigate all of their challenges and to, um, I guess, the different hurdles that they come up against in life? How do you help them to um, get surpassed
Hmm.
those difficulties?
Well, you have to get them to believe they can actually do it and that it's possible because they're used to an environment where people beat them down, that they're stupid, they're dumb, they're lazy, and they are far from it. They just need someone to give them a hand up. So I would just because in the coaching part of it, I would sit and talk to them about the different because it builds because there's 8 weeks and there's 8 topics to discuss about how to become a business owner. So we would go through each week, and I was assigned like 3 or 4 of them, and because the class usually had 25 to 30 people in it. So there would be 5 or 6 of us coaches there. And so I would be assigned 4, 5, 6 of them, and I would sit down with them and just say, what do you really want to do? And why do you think you can't do it?
Mm.
And we would work on it for 8 weeks about getting their mind straightened out and believing in themselves without being arrogant because these people, they had real talents. And Ventures, I don't know if they still do, but they run a store actually the second floor of the Pike Street Market, where these people can bring what they make and sell it there. And I don't know if the store's still there. It was on the first floor down from the main floor. And these people made amazing things. They were so talented, I couldn't believe it. And then you would help them think through their business ideas to see if they actually were legitimate or how could they adapt it to make it work, to make it actually become a viable business where they could make money. And it was surprising and a lot of these people, I mean, they were 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s. And it was amazing how well they changed in 8 weeks. They were like different people in 8 weeks. So it just shows they just needed someone to care. And so I was grateful that I could help them and talk to them. And it was nice because they listened. And you could see they were taking what you said seriously and were trying to incorporate it. So that was probably one of the best experiences I ever had because you're face to face with these people in the same classroom and you watch them evolve. And then from that class, they would go into a mentoring phase, which they had people, that's all they did is mentor. And these people would end up starting businesses. Or they had businesses, they would transform from their business from like a hobby to an actual business. It was so rewarding. I mean, these are the kind of people we want in the United States. That's I don't want to get political here, but that's who we want here. People who want a better life. And I was so grateful to be part of that. I did it for about 6 years. And it kind of ended with COVID. The ventures are still on, I'm sure. But
Mhm.
they went on Zoom and it wasn't as rewarding as in person, face to face. Did
Mhm.
that answer your question?
Right. Yes, thank you.
Check the chat box because Marcel put venturesnonprofit.org. Is that it, Chuck?
Yes.
She put that in
And they're
the.
they're in Seattle, and they're Rainier Valley. They're on Rainier Avenue. If they're still in the same building. But I felt very proud that I did that.
What a wonderful contribution you made, I'm sure, to each and every one of those business owners.
Yeah.
To go back and find out where they're at now.
Yeah. Because the one thing you couldn't, after the class was over and all the mentoring, you couldn't, because a lot of them want to hire me but they had a rule 1 year. And I would never take money from them ever.
Yeah.
So
Chuck,
even though I consulted people afterward, I would not charge them.
Chuck, would you ever write a book or do a podcast or like take your wisdom and share it in other creative ways, or you kind of just focus on the consulting now?
Consulting, I probably should write a book because I've got a lot of experience and stuff, but I don't know. I can't seem to get my thoughts together around how to create a book that would be meaningful. And the reason I would write a book is as a legacy tool for my son.
Hmm.
That's why I would do it.
I'm
Well,
sure you'll
and
love it.
yeah, and there's formulas to help you get around that, to help you inspire you to find all those things. But Chuck, what I was just really impressed with is we hear so many stories of people and how they got to their place of I don't even want to say success, but satisfaction. And you tell this long game and that you did what had to be done. And I just think that that's so admirable. And also saying that just because I did it this way doesn't mean I think everyone should. That's what
Right.
had to happen for you. And I love that. But what I was really curious about is, as a storyteller and somebody who promotes people's stories, I like what you said about something about baggage of getting past the hurt and moving on. And a
Yeah.
lot of times people want to talk from their wounds rather than their scars. And there is a different energy around that. And how do you, when you help these people, how do you get them past that to an realization of maybe this is actually something that's benefited me, even though I didn't feel like it when I was doing it?
So the question is,
How do you say, I help people get past their
pain
baggage?
points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do that because I don't buy into their baggage. No, we're not going into your victimhood. We don't do that. We're going to talk about how do we move forward. We're going to throw your garbage over the cliff. And all we're going to do is move forward. And we're going to bring forward what's positive. And I don't let people talk about victimhood. So that, we're not dragging baggage to the future. It's we make a clean sweep of stuff, and you got to leave those things in the past because they don't serve you going forward. Because I have another saying, actually, I was writing a book on this, that there is no future in your past. And people have to come to grips with that. And if people will not release the bad things that happen to them, or they feel that happen to them, then I can't work with them because they're not going to move ahead because they live in their victimhood. And then they're going to stay there until they decide to adapt and change. So that's how I get over it. And then people then begin to see it. They begin to see that because a lot of people don't realize they're a victim.
Yeah.
And not
A
that I'm
good point.
smart, but you just got to let it go. And I know it's not easy. And I know there's people out here who that's what they do. They help people release their victimhood. And so, because I can be pretty blunt and I don't have a lot of tolerance for victimhood. So,
Mm.
so that's kind of what I do. I just give people a shake, and say, wake up. I mean, how is this serving you? Tell me how this is serving you.
Yeah.
Hey Chuck, what's your favorite business metric to help young business owners understand?
Business metric. Like, what would that be?
Well, like net profit or average price of sales, or like when you were doing those 8 classes, what did you find that they were really like they really needed to understand or that you enjoy teaching about?
Yeah, the metric that I get people to understand right away, cash flow.
Cash flow. Nice.
Because the number one reason
Hmm.
businesses fail is they run out of money. So we talk about cash flow right away because people want to start companies. They go, well, I can get my hands on $5,000 from my parents. Oh, and you want to build a machine shop. Well, it ain't going to work because machine shop's going to take $250,000, so you're unrealistic. So we got to talk about cash flow. And even if they can come out with it, often they get into business, they're spending their last dime. So how are you going to get cash flow? How are you going to get revenue stream? So that's usually the first talk I have with people because that's a reality check.
Mm-hmm. Love
Because
it.
you don't want to get in this and then run out of money in 6 months.
Mm-mm.
So if that's the case, then it's the best thing to do is wait. You're not ready yet. Did I answer your question?
Yep,
Okay.
thank you. I love cash flow. It's a hot topic for me too.
Karen.
Cash is king.
So, how did you start working at a steel mill? And what did you take away from that?
Well, I started working, so I got out of the Air Force.
Hmm.
And just like I got out of high school, I had no money, nowhere to go, and no options. So I got out of the Air Force and flew to Chicago. My family had moved when I was in the Air Force. My family moved to Denver, but I didn't want to do that. I had to get by that. So I kind of couch surfed with a few of my friends for some months and just started looking around for a job and talking to people that I knew because having grown up on the South Side, I knew a lot of people. So finally, I bumped across a friend, a best friend of mine from high school. His dad worked at the steel mill, and he was in charge of security at the steel mill. And then my next door neighbor growing up worked as a foreman in the mill. And then I says, well, I'm looking for a job. They go, hey, we know there's a couple of jobs open. And I said, because when I was looking for a job after the Air Force, jobs were very difficult to get in the 70s, very difficult. So they said, no, we'll hook you up. So they got me an appointment. I went to the HR department because they were looking for they had 2 job openings. And so I went in, I talked to them, and uh, they liked me. And of course, my neighbor and my friend's dad recommended me. And then they found out I had honorable discharge from the military, and I was in. That's how I got it. But by luck, by knowing somebody, by communicating, and by kind of networking. That's how I got it. But it took
Gotcha.
me 3 months or 4 months to get it. And the steel mills are a little bit like the Wild West inside. And it's all union and everything's union. And so you've got to learn how to navigate that environment. And people aren't always pleasant, especially to a young rookie guy, because they're going to show you, because we're the steel workers. Okay, so I learned how to navigate difficult situations. And in steel mills, there's a lot of places you can get in trouble, and trouble can find you. And so, because they're big, huge places. And so I learned how to navigate people, read people, being nice to the right people. And and I hate to admit this, but how I really got over and became one of the better technicians, because I had to go out and get steel samples from the furnace. And that steel's thousands, and so you needed help from the union guys to do that. Well, I found out that the way to the heart of the union guys is they would go down every payday, and around steel mills there's lots of bars. So I would go show up at 5 o'clock in the morning because the guys would go there for the 7 o'clock shift and the night shift would be coming on. And I would buy drinks for these guys because the bar had a sunrise special, a short beer and a shot. And these guys were drinking before they went to work, and so I would show up and buy a few rounds and all that, and then they were like, "This guy's okay." And then when I went to the out into the mill to get these samples, they helped me. They weren't in my way. I thought, boy, did I just learn a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
How to influence people.
I
I
am
was a
beer at 7
non-drinker.
o'clock in the morning.
Huh?
Buying beer at 7 o'clock in the morning.
5 o'clock.
That's very, or 5 o'clock. That's very clever.
Well, I was young, so I'm
Well, and times were
young.
different back then.
Huh? What?
I said times were different back then. They used to smoke on the job too in the Air Force. So
Yeah.
they used to smoke in the shops and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and the same thing in steel mills,
Mhm.
So it was a whole different world then, whole different world.
Yeah.
And so that's how I found my way at the steel mills. And then those guys gladly helped me, but I had to make sure on payday I showed up
Yeah.
and bought drinks. And here I'm a guy, I'm broke. I got no money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm buying these guys that are making big money drinks. And I thought, oh God. But hey, again, it paved the way
Right.
for me to have a better experience. I think you're the only people I ever told this story to. So
Oh, we're honored.
Thanks for sharing.
We're honored.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting to see the leap from Air Force to steel mill to, going to night school for 7 years to get your degree and that kind of stuff. Just the things that people do to make their way. Thanks for sharing your whole story. It was very interesting.
Well, that's why when people say like today, there's so many people that are victimhoods. I can't do this. I go, no,
I know.
because everything is actually easier today than it was in those days. And so I always tell me, you can do it. Just make up your mind. Go do it. Do yourself a favor and build a career. And nothing's ever easy.
I know the Gen Zs are the worst. My daughter's a Gen Z.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, you had it so easy. It's like, no, not really.
Well, people always say that it was so much easier in the old days. And I'm like, it was not, because we didn't have the resources that are available today. So you had to make your way. There was nobody there to help you. That's why I always say, I wish I had a mentor when I was a young man. I think it would have made a world of difference. I think today it's pretty easy to get a mentor. It wasn't then. Because nobody said, oh, you young guy, will make your way, leave me alone, go figure it out. I had to. So you
Well,
do.
Chuck, I love all the beautiful threads that you wove through your journey, your story. And I can see the man you are now through that story, perseverance, not giving up, being positive, not looking back, not bringing things from your past, all those things, which some of them I knew and many I didn't, and many of us also. But it's a real testament to your character, your determination, your perseverance, your vision for a better future for yourself and your family. And So you're real inspiration, Chuck. So thank you for
Oh,
sharing your journey with us. You did a wonderful job. You did an exceptional job.
oh, good. Lived up to the exceptional connect.
Yes,
Well,
definitely.
I hope it was either entertaining or it was meaningful in some way. That's all I hope.
Well, what I'd like to do is just ask everyone, just even if you shared or you didn't share, just unmute for a moment and this is part of this heart behind the Daily Hustle Champion is we get to learn about different champions in our community, things that we didn't know, so that we can be able to, whether it's a resource or just an inspiration, but just get to know each other better and learn from each other. But I also want to be a blessing to the presenter. So let's give Chuck some love here and encouragement and something that you gleaned that you appreciate and how you're going to be able to carry that into your business and your life. So go ahead and just raise your hand and I'll call on you. Lori and then Kathy.
Um, well, Chuck, it's so funny because I've known you for so many years and seen you for so many years and thought I knew what you did because of things that you shared. But to see the backstory, that, I always think sometimes we don't want to share backstory because we don't want to be judged or whatever. But I always feel like it makes us love people even more. And I feel like you gave us a glimpse of who you are and it just it just enhances all that you do. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Kathy.
Uh, your perseverance, your ability to be flexible and to change directions, and to do whatever you needed to do to make it work and to figure that out is just so impressive. And you're right, doing that back in the 70s is way harder than what it is to do now when you have access to people that can help guide you. That wasn't available in the 70s. You had to totally find it on your own. So
Right.
impressive. I loved hearing the stories. And I do have
Oh,
a question. Are you a practicing vegan?
no.
But are you still the leader of that group?
Yes. They made me the leader. I didn't want to be the leader. And I even said
That's
to
great.
them, you guys realize I'm not a vegan. They go, no, but you bring these great recipes and you talk about this and that and you bring education to it. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not a vegan. I mean, I
That's
eat
great.
meat. And they
You're a
go, okay,
carnivore.
okay. So, but I do it just because I put that vegan part into my diet so that hopefully I'll be healthier. But I'm there at their whim. I mean, they want me to be the leader. So, but it's
That's
kind of
great.
crazy. When I told people that I was leader of the vegan group, people are like, what? But
Chuck,
life has little twists and turns, right?
totally. I like that you say you tell people that you can do more than you think and that you don't tolerate their old story. You're like, we're doing something new. We're building the future. Like you very much
Yeah.
like you don't tolerate that. And like I'll sometimes sit with people in their story, which I'd like to not do. So you're inspiring me to be like, we're moving forward. There's a new you. So
Yeah,
thank you
of
for that
course.
inspiration.
And we're all these barriers. The future isn't here yet. And you already got barriers and that's not even here yet. I'm like, come on.
I think sometimes I think the lesson, Cindy and everybody, is maybe we need to hear the backstory of people to understand them more before we do business with them, because maybe we need to hear a little bit more about what makes them tick. Um, because sometimes you get barriers, people, you don't understand the barrier. You know that they have, maybe a reason why they hesitate to do business with you. And if there was some way that you could pull something out about their background on why they're hesitating to do business with you without getting, I guess, too deep and personal with them or whatever. But, um, the fact that, Chuck, the Air Force, I guess, I don't know if I knew that you were in the Air Force. Maybe you mentioned it, but
My
the Air
internet
Force,
froze. I
the
don't know
jump to
about
the
you
steel
guys.
mill, and then how you got into the international marketing and that kind of stuff. It's a weird skipping, but it now makes sense how you got to where you are, where, and it's just kind of what Lori said. I've known you for a long time, but had no idea.
Yeah, yeah. Most people don't. I don't talk about myself. But how I went international marketing is because in the 70s, people were starting to create global markets. So I could see the future was international. At least I thought the future is going to be international. So I need to get an education that will fit in to it where I think the future is going. And it did. It did happen. So it may sound disconnected, but that's why I did it. Because you could see in the 70s, this global market was starting to happen.
Patrice.
Chuck, I feel like I know you so much better now, knowing your past and your history. And I didn't even know that you had a lab background, because I have a lab background. So
Oh, do
that
you?
was fun to hear about. But what I loved is just how you have such a big heart, and you said that it's your duty to help people. And I really resonate with that, and thank you for that message. But yeah, I can totally see that in everything that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wow, thank you guys for all of your beautiful comments, putting a bow on Chuck's sharing. And Chuck, thank you for the time. And I want to thank each and every one of you. You know, Karen started us off this year, Lori, Patrice, Marcel. We've got to get Kathy in there and have you be one of our presenters also. But we've learned so much more about all of you and your heart and your encouragement, your secret sauces to help us through life. Um, you know, our stories do matter, right? Lori, you talk about that. And so sharing our stories and having a platform for it does give us an opportunity to get to know each other better, to be able to be inspired and encouraged. And I love what Marcel said, you know, it can inspire and encourage her in how she interacts with her new employees, right? Because that's a new thing for you as well. So just want to close and just kick it over to Chuck to leave us with any closing remarks, and then I'll give you a reminder.
Well, closing remarks. I just really strongly tell people I believe that they should make sure they believe it in themselves. Don't let society talk you down, and don't let society dismiss you, because they don't know you and only you know you. And you have to have faith and keep moving forward, no matter how adverse it might get, because the outcome, it'll be a good outcome, I think.
Beautiful.
So never give up. Never give up. Because there's always a way around, way to navigate. There's something you can do. So never ever give up.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chuck. And just a reminder to make every connection an exceptional connection. Our next Heart Behind the Daily Hustle of Champions will be Molly Clip, and she'll be joining us on the third Monday from noon to 1. So I hope you can join us. All right, signing out.